Great. Welcoming you all back to our next session, right on time, 10:50. Welcoming you all to this very interesting session where we are showcasing the TCRN work, the TikTok Cultures Research Network work. And this is really a presentation of work that happens here at Curtin University in the land of Whadjuk Noongar people. And so I just want to also acknowledge that we are all coming to you from the land of the Whadjuk Noongar people and that they are the traditional owners of this land, and pay my respects to elders past and present and emerging. So I'm hugely pleased to be chairing this really exciting session. There will be short presentations of the work that is happening within TikTok cultures in the space of Korea. And of course, I'm very pleased to be doing that as the director of the Korea Research and Engagement Center here at Curtin University. And we've been very pleased to collaborate on this event. So all of our researchers here today sit also within the Influencer Ethnography Research Lab, which was founded by Professor Crystal Abidin, who's, of course, just moderated a session for you. And just very brief introduction of all of our presenters today in the order that they appear here, so there's no need to read the titles as you can see them there. But Janey Umback is a PhD candidate here at Curtin. She has a keen interest in internet vernaculars and popular culture, and she's very close to completing her PhD, which investigates how identity is shaped and expressed within digital spaces, particularly in terms of fandoms. And she's looking at the gender dynamics and commodification of intimacy within fan communities, and we'll be talking to this topic today. We also have Faye Mercier here, who is a little bit newer PhD student here at Curtin University. And her work focuses on the effective dimensions of contemporary cross-media environments, and she has a specific interest in Korean, South Korean media. She looks at the effective resonances of Korean media globally and the digital intimacies that form around them. And then finally, we have Jin Lee, Dr. Jin Lee, who is a media sociologist. She does some fantastic work. If you haven't read any of her work, now is a good time to catch up on some fantastic articles that she has written. She has looked at meanings and practices of media intimacies and visibility that are mediated and forged through cultural artifacts like internet celebrities. And she's, of course, also a research fellow here at Internet Studies at Curtin University and ARC Center for Digital Child, which is another center that is worth checking out. And she's also another founding member of TikTok Cultures Research Network, together with our Professor Crystal Abidin, who is the other founding director of the Influencer Ethnography Research Lab and the TikTok Cultures Research Network. I don't know where to start with Crystal. She is an anthropologist and she's an ethnographer. She has published an incredible number of publications, but currently is working here as a professor of Internet Studies and ARC DECRA Fellow at Curtin University. So we will, I'll hand over to Janey first, and we'll take the questions then at the end. Thank you, Janey.
Thanks, Jo. I'm just going to load up my slides, and then I'll be ready to start. So before I begin, I would also like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional custodians of the land that we're standing on, or sitting, or presenting from. In July 2023, Big Hit Music released official images and a short film promoting global superstar Jung of BTS's first official solo single, 7, According to the accompanying press release, the promotional campaign for Seven focused on presenting a new image of Jungkook as a solo artist, capturing the essence of his free-spirited nature and drawing attention to a more mature and bolder vibe. Echoing Big Hit's sentiment that Seven marked a new image for the idol, in an interview with Variety magazine, Jungkook shared that the single was his first step forward into the spotlight as a solo artist, and that he wished to express a more mature and grown version of himself. Both agency and idol therefore express what would appear to be the central contention of Seven, that the single and its marketing campaign signified the emergence of a mature pop star with mainstream appeal who was ready to step into the spotlight as a solo artist and distance himself, even if only momentarily, from his idol group beginnings. So today I will be presenting about the marketing campaign around Seven. I will start with a brief overview of BTS and introducing Jungkook. I will discuss very, very briefly a couple of my research frameworks, the first being an image of innocence that is presented in K-pop idols, and then looking at the relationship between TikTok and the K-pop industry. And then I will be discussing two of my key findings. So I analyzed data on TikTok and did a little bit of inductive coding. And two of my key findings revolve around moments of discrete disclosure that I believe helped fans to help reinvent JK's image, and then shifting the perception of Jungkook from being an object of affection to an object of desire. So first off, to briefly introduce BTS, they made their professional debut in June 2013. The group consists of a three-member rap line, Kim Namjoon, who is also the leader of the group, Min Yoongi, better known as Sugar, and Jun Hoseok, who is known as J-Hope professionally. And then we have a four-member vocal line consisting of Kim Sak-jin, we have Kim Tae-young, Park Jimin, and of course, Jungkook. So the group is the creation of producer and songwriter Ben Si-hyuk and his K-pop label Big Hit Entertainment. And Bang started Big Hit in 2005 with a goal of producing a different kind of K-pop. So his recruits would be able to express themselves freely by writing their own music and then interacting directly with their fan community. And this is something that Hitman Bang, as he's better known as, has really pushed from the beginnings of his label. So it was quite cutting edge in the K-pop industry when BTS launched pre-debut by showcasing behind the scenes footage using YouTube vlogs to kind of showcase unpolished moments, sweaty practice sessions. They would host live sessions where they would discuss their fears and anxieties about their debut process. And this strategy really rejected a lot of the genre norms that were common within the K-pop industry at the time, where content was very highly produced and appeared to be perfect. And so we probably all know how this ended up, but I thought I would show a brief TikTok anyway. So as for Jungkook, he made his debut when he was only 15 years old. He began his training when he was 13 years old. So he is known as the Magne, or the youngest member of BTS. And as the Magne, he aligns with many of the conventions within the K-pop industry around the role of Magne. And BTS do align with many of these conventions around the role that every member presents within the group. So Jungkook fulfills many of these characteristics associated with being a multi-talented magne. He's the lead singer, one of the lead dancers, he's a sub-rapper, and he's usually the center of group presentations. So conventionally, the role of magne is seen to be cute and innocent. Sometimes they're quite cheeky. And this trope does play out in a lot of the fundamental narratives about BTS. So Jungkook has often been referred to as Bangtan's baby, and this narrative resonates greatly with fans who may see themselves in his progress through being a young teenager into adulthood, or otherwise fans kind of grow this kind of sentimental attachment to Jungkook as the baby of the group. In some ways, because of the shifting dynamic of the Magne, where they're now seen to kind of showcase their leadership skills. So for sometimes for the Magne, there is more freedom to experiment within the group dynamics. So to take you briefly through my main research framework, this is looking at the image of innocence within K-pop idols. So the K-pop industry sets stringent moral clauses that are imposed by the agencies upon their idols, and these really dictate idols' behaviour both on and off stage. Idols are expected to maintain a spotless reputation, avoiding actions that could be perceived as scandalous or unprofessional. And this includes adhering to a strict code of ethics regarding the appearance of their bodies, their relationships, and substance use. So these moral clauses are intended to safeguard the idol's image and ensure that their conduct aligns with the high standards set by their agencies that reflect the greater values of South Korean society. So while BTS do align with many of these genre norms, there are ways that they do subvert some of these restrictions. So predominantly the one that I can notice the most is that Big Hit, to appeal more to global audiences, they have really allowed JK to get visible tattoos, which is something that isn't quite that common within the K-pop industry. Now, traditionally, the K-pop industry has been quite conservative regarding body art, given the cultural stigma surrounding tattoos in Korea. And tattoos have become a more acceptable form of self-expression within global pop culture. And so I believe that by allowing Jungkook to have them, this aligns with a more contemporary global perspective. And as BTS achieve this global success and become a symbol of international influence, it is possible that Big Hit recognises the importance of supporting the individuality and personal expression of its idols. So I want to kind of get to the point now that this subversion is something that I see happening within the promotion around Jungkook as a solo artist. So if you're not familiar, Seven made its debut last July. I'll play a tiny bit of the music video now, just if you haven't heard it before. So TikTok has become a powerful marketing tool for the K-pop industry, as Crystal Abidin and Jin Lee have previously written about. And it significantly influences how K-pop music is promoted and consumed globally. The platform's short-form video content and viral trends provide dynamic ways for K-pop idols to engage with fans. And this includes strategies such as dance challenges, lip sync videos, and fan-created content that is related to K-pop songs. These often go viral, driving streams and increasing visibility for both established and emerging groups. And as Abidin and Lee have noted, much of this K-pop engagement with TikTok does rely on promotional labour. So now to take you through one of the key findings that I found through a process of inductive coding. This was looking at how fans really helped to reshape Jungkook's image from this image of him being Bangtan's baby into a really mature solo artist. And I've called this moments of discreet disclosure. So these are moments where fans feel as though they might get a glimpse of the real behind the scenes Jungkook. And so I'll play a couple of examples now. So these do both revolve around Jungkook smoking. So these moments of discreet disclosure aren't only about smoking, but these were one of the key types of videos that I found that related to this theme. But these are candid, accidental moments where viewers might glimpse a more authentic side of Jungkook. And these edits accentuate a more mature and rebellious side to the idol. As we saw in the two examples that I just played, well-known pop music is often integrated into these edits, which adds another layer of meaning to the videos, such as, Rihanna's Rude Boy, for example, while they also increase the potential for virality across the app. For new viewers who might have previously perceived K-pop idols to be innocent and lacking in self-agency, these edits offer a stark contrast. Someone coming across these videos might say, oh, wow, I didn't know that someone like that would be able to smoke so openly. And they reveal a side of Jungkook that is more grown up and complex, which further challenges the traditional image of idols as pure. So when I analyze the comments that are left on these videos, most of them are quite positive, actually. You can see some examples there that I have on my slides. Most of them really reiterate the fact that he is an adult, he can do what he wants, that he looks good while he's smoking. There's a lot of people saying that, he's a grown man. So that did lead me to wonder if there were some more negative comments that had been removed from these videos, because everything that I found was overwhelmingly positive. For longtime fans of Jungkook who once saw him as a baby, these images really underscore his evolution into a more mature and multifaceted idol. And like I said, the comments on these videos often highlight this shift in persona. They emphasize that he's no longer a child and can assert his independence and personal choices. And they undercut his prior image by aligning him with provocative themes. And these videos represent a strategy that is commonly employed by young pop stars who are transitioning into adulthood. And this transition is notoriously difficult. So if the control can be handed over to his fan community, it means that there is a professional distance between Jungkook and the way that his image is being replicated and shared on TikTok. And such drastic changes to an artist's image are often met with apprehension by fans. And this is particularly true regarding transformations that center around maturation and growing up. However, with TikTok, like I said, fans do retain the control over the narrative by editing and playing with the footage. So the second finding that I found was a shift from seeing Jungkook as an object of affection, as this baby, to become an object of desire. So I've got a couple of examples here.
끝난 줄 알았지. 안 끝났어.
So both of these examples revolve around a live stream that Jungkook completed where he did a workout, and this was to promote Seven. But we can see that this workout footage has been turned into almost like thirst trap videos, I guess, without a lack of a more professional term. So in these videos, viewers take really low quality footage of Jungkook, and they use Zoom's editing features to focus on specific parts of his body or really slow down footage. And this gives the edits a voyeuristic tone. And these edits help Jungkook disavow a more feminized type of masculinity that broader audience may associate with K-pop idols. And in most of these edits, there is a focus on him saying, I said I'm not done, understand, which in itself has become an audio meme. And I feel like I'm very much out of time, but I will quickly play this back. So we can see that this audio meme in itself is used to promote JK as a more older and mature idol. So in the context of K-pop, male K-pop idols traditionally showcase their physiques in more choreographed, staged performances, but these edits really capture moments where it's a less controlled, more personal environment. And this kind of opens up more complex narratives around desire and masculinity, and it presents a type of naturalized maleness that is encouraged more within Anglo pop culture. Should I stop now, Joe? I know I'm very much out of time. Thank you so much.
All right. Hello, everyone. As Joe mentioned, my name is Faye, and I am a PhD candidate at Curtin University. I would also like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from the Wajak Noongar Buja, and I want to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Today, I am going to talk about Korea Talk. That is the part of TikTok where people share their experiences visiting or living in Korea. And I want to preface this presentation by clarifying that Korea Talk is largely a transnational space. So it's not really the Korean side of TikTok where Korean users or creators are posting, but it's more so a space for non-Koreans to share their experiences of Korea. There's a lot of different kinds of content on Korea Talk, but today I'm particularly interested in how the transnational community on TikTok construct aspirational connotations around their daily lives in Korea. Apologies. So I first encountered Korea Talk myself when preparing for my first trip to Korea about 2 years ago, what to do and where to go. And very quickly, my algorithm started feeding me content that followed a particular formula. So a creator, very often a woman, although not exclusively, would document their daily life in Korea, sharing their favorite cafes, restaurants, tips for what to buy in Elfving-Hwang, etc. And at a certain point, each of these creators would inevitably go to a Korean convenience store where they would fish out a plastic cup full of ice from a freezer and pour a drink from a plastic pouch. And what struck me in this content was how something very banal, daily life, buying a drink at a convenience store, had become kind of aspirational, right? There was a lot of content like this sort of endless stream of women drinking iced coffee. And I was also really eager to replicate this myself when I went to Korea. It's one of the first things in this intersection between the mundane or the banal and the aspirational in the Korea Talk community. Following Isa Kaglar, I understand the term transnational as a tool that highlights the flows of persons, goods, information, and symbols across national boundaries. And that allows us to consider how we negotiate our identities in light of these flows. So rather than refer to these creators as foreigners or internationals, I use transnational here to indicate that they have distinct national backgrounds, but they're speaking to a very broad and fluid global community on TikTok. And they're not only bridging their cultural contexts with that of Korea, but they're also speaking to the diverse contexts of that global audience. So what I'm going to do in this presentation is try to categorize some of the core aspirational trends and templates that are active on Korea Talk, trying to break down the logics and meanings that are shared between them. And the examples in this presentation are just the most representative that I could find. Founding aspirationality on Korea Talk are the logics of the TikTok platform itself, as well as the logics behind the expansion of the Korean wave. I'm not going to go into too much detail here for the sake of time, but part of the aspirationalism of these posts, of this coffee trend that I just shared, apologies, relates to the sort of mimetic visibility that is inherent to the TikTok platform. So as noted by the likes of Zully and Zully or Crystal Abidin, participation in trends on TikTok holds the promise of visibility and traction on the platform. So the popularity of the convenience store example already given is aspirational because participation might increase one's standing on the platform or in the Korea Talk community. Moreover, participation in this trend requires access to places and activities, namely Korea itself, which implies a certain kind of transnational. It's also important here in terms of understanding the rise of Korea as a tourism destination or a lifestyle concept, with K-dramas, K-pop, and other Korean pop cultural products contributing to the idealization of Korea as place. So in order to better understand the aspirational logics at work on Korea Talk, I employed a walkthrough method that allowed me to train my algorithm to prioritize Korea Talk content, liking and saving aspirational posts in particular, and then combining a visual and textual analysis. These are some of the core trends that I identified. So the first and most prominent category of aspirational Korea Talk video is the POV, or point of view video. As noted by Servi and Devon, the POV category on TikTok uses the cinematic point of view shot to convey a specific perspective on a specific phenomenon. It's by no means unique to Korea Talk, but what we see here is that it's often used to highlight romanticized and aestheticized experiences of Korea. So many of these videos feature captions such as POV, you finally made it to Korea, POV, you find happiness in Seoul, or simply POV, autumn in Korea. And these captions are accompanied by montages of idyllic Korean scenery, such as autumn leaves, twilight skies, as well as urban scenes and stores that are familiar from K-dramas. The audio in these videos is quite varied. Sometimes they're accompanied by kind of calm Korean music conveying wistfulness. Other times they're accompanied by more joyous, upbeat songs. Sometimes they're accompanied by trending K-pop tracks or even snippets of dialogue from K-dramas, thus tying into the kind of broader popularity and affective connotations of Korean media. And many of these videos will also emphasize peace and relaxation in their descriptions. And together, these elements indicate a sort of collective longing, I would say, for an imagined romantic and fulfilling Korean lifestyle. Other POV videos focus more so on highlighting specific experiences available in Korea, such as retail, food, or leisure experiences. And while their convenience store is the most prominent locale, unlike the previous examples where we are encouraged to take on the position and gaze of the creator, in these videos, we oscillate between looking with the creator and then looking at them as they enjoy their convenience store food. Many of these videos have captions such as POV, it's 3 a.m. in Korea, showing the creator leaving their apartment in the middle of the night, emphasizing the safety and convenience of Korean urban environments, especially for women. Others might lead with the title POV, you land in Korea, implying that the first thing you do upon arrival is go to the convenience store. And rather than feature music, many of these videos make use of the automated TikTok voiceover, which explains the specific items being purchased, sometimes even gives the price for each item. And in this way, these videos can be read as relatable to those already in Korea, but aspirational to those hoping to visit Korea. In particular, something we see a lot is this hand of the creator reaching out and picking up specific items, which creates a sort of playthrough experience for the viewer. And this kind of game-like playthrough logic already implies some kind of desirability or aspirationalism in this experience of going to the convenience store, because it assumes that this is something that the viewer will want to learn more about. So other such videos can be found in gyms or restaurants or cafes, but they all mimic this instructional playthrough logic, and they imbue a variety of Korean experiences with desirability. In these previous examples, the creators aren't foregrounded all that much in the content. They're more so in the background, but there are other videos in which these creators do tend to foreground their voices or opinions a bit more directly, especially when it comes to beauty experiences. So many creators will share their personal experiences with Korean color analysis, hairdressing, or cosmetic procedures. And in these videos, they give recommendations for which stores to visit, which service representatives to book. And this content is less romanticized, I would say, and much more pragmatic in nature. But these experiences are presented as must-see or must-do activities while in Korea, with the creator possessing some kind of insider knowledge. So while the aspirationalism is perhaps less implicit than the previous examples, in these videos, it feels that the creators are actively trying to establish aspirational trends through the recommendation and opinion sharing. So what we see here is that while these creators seem to sideline their own personalities or self-brands in order to foreground desirable images of Korea, this is very much in line with what Crystal Abidin has observed about the logics of TikTok, which often encourages creators to sideline their personas and personal branding in order to facilitate a more flexible engagement with mimetic trends on the platform. So by emphasizing viral images of Korea, these creators are more likely to garner visibility within the Korea Talk ecosystem. But what's interesting is the consequences that this has for the role of the creator in their own content. Whether they're in front of the camera or providing POV experiences, these creators appear less as individuals and more so as vessels for our own imagination or understanding of life in Korea. To continue with the gameplay analogies, I would actually posit that these creators take up a sort of NPC or non-player character role in their content. So an NPC, as Gunter Hack discusses, is a player in a video game who is governed by the software and works to shape the interactions between the user and the rest of the game. So it's a character who gives you tips on what to do in the game or tools that you will need in order to succeed later on. Similarly, by focusing on providing instructional and explanatory information and by sidelining personal branding for viral visibility, these creators take up the position of NPCs in a way, someone with whom we interact with briefly while on the platform, who we might run into again, but not necessarily, and who provides us with practical information about Korea or clues and tips as to what we should explore and where we should go. And while I think this NPC analogy can actually be seen across a broad variety of TikTok content, in this Korea Talk subgenre where tourism and nation branding and Hallyu are kind of coalescing, the NPC persona seems to be a particularly potent strategy for maintaining visibility. I'll quickly go to my final point. So what exactly is being kind of taught or instructed in this content? There is, of course, a touristic aspect to all of this, what you should do, where you should go when you're in Korea. But I think there's also another layer of meaning in this content that's teaching you how to engage with or construct what I call here Koreanicity in your own content. And I say Koreanicity here as opposed to Koreanness, to emphasize that this engagement with Korea is less premised on Korean culture or society or tradition, and more so on a sort of romanticized, if not slightly exoticized, view of contemporary Korean consumer culture. And I'm kind of building on Roland Barthes' concept of Italianicity, which discusses how French advertisements for Italian products take something very banal, like a tin of pasta sauce, and through signs and meanings created in an advertisement, turns it into something unbanal that is differentiated. So Koreanicity, like Italianicity in that sense, is specifically indebted to histories of marketing and tourism. And these creators are differentiating their lifestyle content from other aesthetic lifestyle subgenres on the platform by building associations with the romantic branding of Korean pop cultural products. And I want to end quickly with this final example, which I think is quite illustrative. Here we see a video. I've broken it down into different scenes, where a creator laments leaving Korea to presumably return to their home country, juxtaposing romantic images of Korea with a harsh and uninviting urban infrastructure at the very end. But what's most notable in this video is that these two different locales could actually exist in the same place. Both of these scenes could be in Korea. And if it wasn't for all of the Korean signage and lettering, these Korean urban scenes could also be anywhere else in the world. So in this example, and hopefully in the others I've shared, we can see that banal everyday places and activities are at the center of aspirational content on Korea Talk, but these scenes are rendered unbanal, unique and desirable through the construction of Koreanicity, which is a sort of hybrid consumer stream that is less interested in Korean culture or society and more so interested in kind of other more romantic forms of consumerist consumption. And that is me.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for coming today. My name is Jin, and oops, sorry about that. I'm research fellow of the Influence Ethnography Research Lab and also a founding member of TikTok Cultures Research Network. And I'm very excited to share the study that we published. I published with Professor Crystal Abidin a year ago about K-pop TikTok. And I believe that this genre has a lot of significant part of the K-pop TikTok, TikTok cultures in Korea, the topic that we talk about today. Oopsie. Firstly, I acknowledge the country where, I'm very not good at working with the Zoom. But anyway, so yep, I acknowledge the Wajak Noongar people on whose traditional lands I work and live. So we examine in this talk, we examine how TikTok has expanded into South Korean landscape by utilizing K-pop as a vehicle, thus demonstrating the theory of a platformed glocalization we propose. While platformization has been studied a lot by as a pervasive reach and impact of platforms on cultures by a lot of scholars today, we showcase the potential for a variant that we term platformed glocalization, usually observed when domestic market cultures and their associated social politics are particularly strong. We examine through the case of the K-pop TikTok challenges and a series of TikTok stage event that we have examined over the past few years, especially during the pandemic. So some of you who don't know that much about the K-pop TikTok challenge, this is the example that I like to show, which started by the K-pop artist and K-pop rapper, Korean rapper Zico in 2020. Oops. Yep. Oops, sorry. So on January 2020, the K-pop artist Zico posted his first TikTok content and explained that he wanted to communicate directly with fans more efficiently and more directly. In the days followed, he posted a full teaser of his new song, which called Any Song. And then he started to post videos of him dancing to the song, sometimes by himself, sometimes with his colleagues like this. Or like this. Oopsie, sorry about that. So this Any Song challenge was not really like the internet vernacular at that time. But his TikTok viral challenge, his TikTok videos went viral immediately over the past just a few days. And it has become like the phenomenon where a lot of K-pop artists and also just ordinary social media users started to mimic these challenges and then post the videos on TikTok. And this has become later quite a like internet vernacular, but also the standard form for K-pop artists to promote their new release. So in brief, a challenge on TikTok is a genre that involves completing a goal and inviting other users to participate and sharing the content. In the case of K-pop TikTok challenges, this usually involves replicating a dance move accompanying a specific snippet of the K-pop song. Oopsie, sorry, as you just saw from the previous examples of the Zico. And also, so often after the stars or idols themselves have publicized a dance tutorial as a guide. And after the resounding success of the TikTok campaigns by Zico, K-pop stars swiftly took to TikTok as a new frontier for their publicity efforts. Soon, K-pop singers like Jessie began to design the official choreography for their songs to be tailor-made for the performance on TikTok, and also other K-pop stars like the Baby Monster, who just debuted last year. Prior to K-pop TikTok challenge, TikTok struggled a lot, as Hisu mentioned in the previous session, about the association of TikTok being a Chinese app, and in relation to the the prejudice about the China in South Korea. So, and also it relates to the existing geopolitical tensions between China and the US. So we have seen a lot of news articles like this. Is TikTok okay? Is TikTok safe? Is TikTok dangerous? Or does Chinese government to try to steal my information on TikTok? That kind of news articles or discourse was also found in TikTok in South Korea when TikTok was launched in 2018. So TikTok was also fined for collecting the information, the personal information of the child users in South Korea. And after that, a lot of news articles talk about whether TikTok is safe, especially calling TikTok and also other Chinese China-based platforms as a Chinese app. So this mirrors the global politics of the app in relation to the racist prejudice of the racist prejudice about China in South Korea. Also, throughout in 2019, TikTok started to promote the platform using a lot of advertisements. This often included video footage of young people dancing to addictive and repetitive music as a way of demonstrating the visual culture of TikTok to prospective users. And one particular social media campaign was Make Some TikTok, as you can see on the slide, featuring young women showing feminine cuteness with skin-tight clothes, or just, doing some random things with very feminine and smiley faces. While the dance snippet undertaken in the campaign encapsulated TikTok's most distinctive brand as a short video platform, so where a lot of people just doing very repetitive and mimetic dancing things, the contents of the ad per se roused the displeasure among the Korean public. on Korean social media platforms and online communities like the Kook or something, many social media users describe the TikTok as their biggest pet peeves that made them feel very, very annoyed. And the undertone, oh, sorry about that. Sorry. The undertone also referred to TikTok being childish and giving rise to more colloquialism that TikTok was a choding app so the discourse has a slightly transferred from the Chinese app to choding app, the choding, which means a derogatory term usually referring to young children for their immaturity, clumsiness, and low cultural taste. So all of these things were related to this racist prejudice about TikTok being a Chinese app and also being a low culture and vulgar app. Now, against this backdrop, TikTok's collaborative work with the K-pop industry has brought a new entrance for TikTok to the domestic market, facilitated by the process of the platformization. TikTok started working with the K-pop industry in 2018, quite earlier. But TikTok's sponsorship prominent K-pop awards program like Mama and K-pop challenges are the examples here. But they started to build a much more ecosystem and collaborative ecosystem around the pandemic area. After the success of Zico's Anisong Challenge in 2020, other K-pop stars also followed Zico's trajectory on TikTok, such as a female K-pop rapper Jessie's new release Nununanna Challenge, revealing a dance routine on TikTok dubbed the Nununanna Challenge. And then there is also the TikTok page that is dedicated to the archiving Nununanna Challenge for Jessie because of the prominence of and popularity of the K-pop, and also the collaborative work of the TikTok and the K-pop industry. And also TikTok began to program a series of concerts during the pandemic period from 2020 to 2021, a series of concerts that were live streamed only on TikTok, so-called the TikTok stage, where K-pop singers showcase their performance on the app, and then their fans interact with the stars on the app. So the partnership between online platforms and the music industry affords fans and stars opportunities to remain connected during the pandemic, directly engage with each other, and feel intimacy through live online chats and donations. And TikTok stage was the prime example of the monetizing or taking advantage of that kind of opportunities during the pandemic period. And following this emergent acceptance of TikTok as an app for K-pop challenges, the app's footing and reputation in the K-pop industry was solidified during the period of mass self-isolation during the COVID pandemic. We argue that this is a new variant of the platformization, which we call the platform glocalization. So TikTok stage events, as you can see here, that continued until the 2021. Media scholar Marcus Steinberg notes 3 distinctive points in the process of a platformization. The first one is a transformation or creation of cultural products and content. And second, introduction of new markets for the exchange of these contents. And third, the transformation of the subjectivities of the actors in the space. All of them are organized around the introduction and expansion of a new platform. So for example, the introduction of image-centered platform like Instagram has made a new path for people to engage with each other through the production and consumption of images. And similarly, TikTok has paved a path in the new way of engaging with others, but in a very local manner, we argue, interacting with both global and local elements. So we argue that K-pop TikTok is a prime example of the platform glocalization we call the process of the customization, adaptation, and accommodation of the platforms they take root in local markets by complying to the domestic, political, cultural, and economic context to maximize user compatibility and uptake. And TikTok Korea was possible to enter the domestic market despite the several challenges that they have experienced in the early days by closely working with the K-pop industry in Korea and leveraging on the gaps in the K-pop market arising from the pandemic. However, TikTok Korea, this expansion of the Korean TikTok Korea was not just something that was possible, that was done by the one company, TikTok. It was more about the collective networked environment. It was afforded by the collective networked environment that is already shaped in the K-pop industry, especially the promotional labor of in the K-pop industry. In the case of K-pop TikTok, it was done through the promotional labor, we argue, by both the celebrities and fans. K-pop singers are not only just to perform in TikTok stages, they also attempted to continue to engage with their fans through live chats or comments or TikTok stage performance afforded by TikTok. And K-pop fans also wanted to remain connected to their fans, which was facilitated by K-pop TikTok vernaculars like challenges on TikTok stages. And also there were a couple of mediators who live in the between the TikTok and other platforms, because a lot of them kind of afraid to join the TikTok because of the stigmatization or the worries about the cybersecurity on TikTok. So a lot of them perform as a kind of mediators by watching the K-pop TikTok dance challenges and then remaking the content and distributing that content to the other social media platforms for them to continuously engage with their stars and also make their stars are visible despite the COVID pandemic days. So by doing so, K-pop fans were able to remain connected to their stars, which was facilitated by K-pop TikTok vernaculars. And by working together to remain visible in the K-pop scene, despite the COVID challenges, K-pop singers and fans continue to facilitate the economy and also culture of K-pop, which fueled the process of the platformized glocalization of TikTok, despite the nationwide rumor and controversies around the app for being a Chinese app and also for being a trolling app. So this is one of the examples here where the K-pop fans try to promote their the new songs of their stars, and also closely try to work with the stars as a kind of team in this performance of or the execution of the promotion labor. This study serves as a historical documentation of the changing trajectories of the K-pop industry amidst the mass digitization and virtualization during the pandemic. And also the K-pop challenges genre has now become a standard form, as I mentioned earlier, for K-pop companies and singers to promote their new release, like by working together with other colleagues and etc. So successful and mainstream is K-pop TikTok that TikTok's competitors have begun imitating it. So for example, YouTube announced its meaningful partnership with global popular K-pop girl group Blackpink 2 years ago, and then it's continued to work with the K-pop singers like NCT and others, as you can see here, using their release of new singles to promote new challenges, new K-pop challenges exclusively on its newest feature, YouTube Shorts. And we concluded this, and also you can see as this TikTok challenge or K-pop TikTok challenge has become like a quite phenomenon among the K-pop singers. There are lots of to think about, and especially the sexualization that is made to capture the attention and then also aim for virality among young female K-pop singers and etc. So we concluded this presentation asking for more studies on this new phenomenon and the variant of the platformization as a social media pop cultures continue to expand, meeting with the local and the global. You can find more information by reading this article that was published last year, and also the next sister papers are coming up hopefully in the next few years. So thank you.
Thanks very much, and hopefully there's less echo now in my feed. I was just told, apologies for that technical issue. If anyone has got any questions for our presenters, now would be the time to ask those. We have one question that has been left in the other chat, which is, what is the precedence for these three phenomena prior to TikTok? Are there histories of these phenomena on other platforms in Korea? I wonder, Jin, if you might be best placed to reply to that one.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
So what is the precedence for these three phenomena, or perhaps just address yours? Are there any histories of these on other platforms in Korea? And Faye, perhaps if you've looked at kind of promotion of Koreanicity, which I think is a really great term actually to describe what you were just talking about there, and Janey in context of fan studies.
Oh, yep. I can start first. So one thing that I like to highlight about this is that TikTok is very unique in terms of, they have very region-based algorithms, and also the system that recommended content that is very specific to a country or the location where you're based. And I think that is one of the vehicle to facilitate the idea of the Koreanicity that Faye mentioned, and also the expansion of the K-pop. The K-pop is already very, very global, but whether you have that kind of very specific, the culture or the country specific system or not, really, it is a very determinant factor of the, the facilitating or the expanding that very local cultures. So I think TikTok, as me and Crystal argued, the platform, the glocalization is something that TikTok has made a very interesting the case. And after that, YouTube and also Instagram started to mimic that kind of, the system in their platforms as well. So I think that has made a lot of, precedent there. Yep.
Janey or Faye?
Yeah, I would say that the kind of transnational romanticization of Korea can also be seen on YouTube. It has a really long history there as well. Creators like Eat Your Kimchi or Megan Moon and others have been doing this for a long time. But I think the specific aesthetic language is coming partly from influencer cultures more broadly, especially Instagram, and then TikTok seems to have just created, especially with this emphasis on trends and virality, a very specific moment that has allowed this to kind of to blossom, I suppose. Yeah.
Janey, did you want to add something? And I've got a question for you as well.
No, that's okay. I'm happy to move to the next question.
Yeah, my question to you would be, I'm wondering, I like the idea of moments of discrete disclosure. It's a really nice turn of phrase. I'm wondering whether how curated these indiscreet disclosure moments are. To me, it seemed that Jungkook was quite performative there in making a big secret. So what can you talk a little bit more about that? How do you make discrete performative discreteness look? Well, it's kind of indiscreet. How do you make it look discreet? And if there's something there to be looked at more closely?
It's difficult to say whether that smoking moment was an accident or not. I mean, who can judge? But there is a lot of direct eye contact with the camera for sure. But I think this is something that happened. There was a stage performance that BTS did in 2022 in Seoul where his jacket accidentally came open, like buttons popped off his jacket. And that to me was one of the a prime example of discrete disclosure as well. It's like, how can we judge whether that was an accident or incidental? But yeah, I would say that it definitely gave fans a lot of content to work with. And it, like I was saying in my presentation, it kind of removes him so he doesn't have to be, hey, I'm this new masculine adult guy. It's up to the fans to create this narrative around him. So yeah,
that's great. And I think we've got just time for one more question, and then we need to go for a break. This is from the Q&A. This is a question for all of you, but maybe one of you can take this. I'm curious about the distinction between banal style content and K-pop specific Korea content on TikTok. Have you seen any overlap between these two trends, or do creators try to keep these identities separate between the K-pop TikToks and Koreanicity, I guess? Perhaps I wonder if, Faye, if you would like to.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think there is overlap, of course, but how it overlaps will depend very much on the platform that the creator is operating on. But on TikTok in particular, I feel like it feels quite separate. The K-pop content is speaking to the K-pop fan community for the most part. And then the banal lifestyle content is more so speaking to an audience interested in broader Korean pop culture or tourism or studying abroad. So I think the audiences are quite distinct, and the algorithm is probably feeding it to different groups as well. So I think it does have a slightly different vernacular to it, but I'm not a K-pop expert, so maybe Janey knows more than me.
Yeah, I think we're very nearly out of time, Janey. So sorry. There was another question for you as well about fandom perception, transformation of K-pop idols through TikTok, and whether that's applicable to K-drama idols.
Look, I have to admit, my knowledge of K-drama idols is lacking. So yeah, I'm probably not best to answer that question, I'm afraid.
And it's really interesting for me as somebody who's been working in Korean studies for 25 years almost, how we've gone from talk about mostly North Korea and Korea's economic development to very interesting granular perceptions of how Korea is seen as a really exotic and exciting place. And I think obviously this social media has an enormous amount to do with that. So thank you so much. And I'm really sorry we didn't have time to take that final question in full. We'll pass it on, Manuel. And thank you so much for joining us for this session. And we look forward to seeing you at the next session very shortly. Please come back. And thank you to our fantastic presenters.